this. Let's see. I haven't really tested my new volumes, but I think we'll see. We'll see how shit goes.
What are your thoughts on the team comp for the defense here? We can't really see much about the offense.
It was no enemy left.
These casters were cringy. Cringy as fuck.
What? Cool J.
Team comp.
Team comp for who?
Toronto Esports. We, you know, they're probably just trolling us with this very standard dive comp on the side of no anime allowed.
You know how it is. Panker is good at Winston. Dalton's good at Tracer. Crackalakin's good at Diva. Hakume is good at Yana. So
Koro's
it would
just
make
good at
sense
the
for
game.
them to play those heroes. Cool.
I guess this will just be the story of who can dive better, because Poro's running that Soldier 76 and they're running a Pharmacy, so there's going to be some counterplay there. They don't have a flanker, they traded that out for a Soldier 76.
Alright, let's see. Making sure my stream is actually good. Alright, looks fine. Making sure the video is good. Alright, I kind of forgot about this games a little bit. Trying to just remember them. I use spacebar, right? Stream. Right. Okay, good. Running Pharmacy here with Soldier. We need Soldier up on high ground before we can do anything, so I think we should have matched Tracers here from the start, because Dalton ends up just making a muck of a lot of our pushes. So like you can see here, Frill is swinging out before the Fires even started taking shots. So he ends up getting a good direct. Like we end up getting good damage here. But the problem is what comes afterwards. So they've dropped onto the ground. We're jumping up. Alright. We're zoning 4 of their members. Okay? This is good. But what we can't see right now is Paintbrush's HP is 1. The Winston and the Tracer were setting up a counterattack. So the people on top, their job literally was to like take damage, jump down, that's fine. You're gonna get zoned, it's fine, Diva's gonna zone for them. But then they were setting up an attack on the other side with Panker and Dalton to flank Paintbrush and Frill. And once they're gone, so you see like the 4-man unit that went all up here to like push these people back. They pushed them all back, but then this 2-man unit just came up top and killed them. So what I was saying before is the value you want is you want the high ground people, so you want the Soldier, Zen, to be swinging out the same time as the Pharah and the dive on the high ground, and you want to like insta-kill someone before they drop from the high ground. So you want to hit a direct and be shooting them with Soldier and Discord and Orbs. You want them to die, or you want to be punishing them like immediately, because the people on this side of the high ground, the Soldier and Zen, are going to be getting pressured. So you want to just get fast value.
I don't think so. You're dead, so gonna find forwards as well. And that was a very quick teamfight win for the side of Toronto Esports.
That just wasn't a good plan for the side of no enemy allowed. They sent Cricket Scan to the left of the map. Takes up mid. They
I have a bit of a cold.
Everyone was so disconnected. Everyone was so.
Alright, so they destuted the Diva last fight, so this was good. He was just trying to bait. Poro's just trying to bait like he did last fight, but it's fine. They dropped down. But you see, it's the same thing again. Dalton sitting up high ground. Panker is sitting in a corner. He does not care about any of this is going right now. Everyone's safe. The Diva fell, but it's fine. They can stall. Dalton's pressuring the high ground. Panker just now swings out when everyone's on the point. He did not care at all. They're just waiting to counter dive. They can just kill them every time. Forwards gets the res off, but I mean, Paintbrush. Okay, Dalton fell. He could have just killed Paint right there, but they end up just focusing the people on the point together. You can see the tools that they're using basically. The Tracer and the Winston are able to pressure the high ground, and then it forced the Mercy to come back. Then Sugar doesn't get the pocket and he dies, and they don't end up having like an active healer on the point saving them. So. So I think the solution here is to either just run Frill on Tracer and then have Paint or whoever play Lucio and just be an existing character where you can just be like wall riding and playing safe as a support rather than going high ground where Paint is doing it over and over again, but he's not getting much value because he's getting pressured so hard by the Tracer and the Winston. Rather than attempting to force this over and over again, and maybe if they wanted to continue running this, we should have maybe gone outside. So instead of sending the people like through streets, we'd go behind the point, and so we'd help our people on high ground first get set up, let them sit there, and then maybe have a tank sit with them, and then like the 3 people like take their high ground away, and it forces them to like retake from like an awkward angle, and you don't let Dalton Panker get the 2v2 against Paint and Frill. I'm gonna drop there randomly, but you see, it's like the same thing every fight. Like Frill and Paintbrush are like the first ones to fall. They're the ones that are focusing the hardest. Then the 4-man unit of Toronto is playing super safe, just soaking pressure of the 4-man unit, 4 or 5, whoever's on them. They're walking back together. This is a set play that they have. They know what they're doing every single fight. Like they're walking away with no hesitation. Yeah, I think they're forcing too hard. The people on streets weren't even up close enough to add pressure here. Like they're ending up popping ults in like a fight that they should be. It's not like perfectly reset yet, but like Frill had gotten like completely zoned that fight and the supports left him, and so Monkey was just able to 1v1 kill him. He was able to 1v1 kill him, also get trance, and also the Mercy ult was popped before, and it was just pocketing the Zen in the backline. So he's basically like soaked 3 ults, got a kill, got a low value of the Valk and a low value of the trance, and didn't die. And then this gave time for the people on the point to just stay alive and come back. It's just cleaning up the kills here.
Toronto Esports look like they're restabilizing slowly but surely. Dalton and Poro wreaking havoc, and now Panker making his appearance, able to demech that Diva and is chasing down that Lucio. They're doing a good job. No animate allowed.
Making the swap to harder dive now with Tracer Genji.
Making it super easy for Toronto Esports on the next attack.
No Zen though. To be fair though, Mercy is okay. Matt goes in too early. There isn't enough follow-up for him, so he gets 1 shot and he doesn't have any kill pressure. Panker falls for it, but you can see like the trades that are made for so let's see if I go back a little bit. It's awful to always go back on these VODs. So we'll see right here. Dalton sitting in standard Tracer spot. You can see Matt here. Look at his HP bar. Watch. Just now would have landed high ground, and that's his HP. And no one else is really even showing. Like Sugar is here on the ground, has yet to dive yet. Crackalakin's just zoning people. Dalton is sitting here zoning as well. And no one can even get to Matt yet. Like by the time that they're actually like with him, like he's already dead. Because he went too early or nobody else followed. And so you're just taking this fight from like already such a huge disadvantage that Panker can just like trade his life for like the low amount. You see there Dalton. I don't think Dalton's died so far. He's on like a 20 kill streak. Skipping forward.
Over this time, he's gonna be hanging on to Farah, meaning Hakamei switching over to Mercy. Panker sticking to Winston, obviously. And it looks like Frill will be running Soldier 76 on defense, just like Toronto was earlier, and the engagement looks pretty much.
This is my idea of what they could have done with the pharmacy. This works if you have pharmacy and a soldier, where you can swing them behind the high ground and you just basically check for the tracer all behind here, so you don't let her flank. But I mean, it also works where you can just like have your pharmacy just like playing like super safe here, and they have to like dive them in the air or like land a lot of shots, and so it allows like a lot of room here. I don't like them fighting on the high ground. I think they should have just dropped. But I mean, they can't give a lot of percentage of the point away because it's only like a little bit more than 2 ticks. They killed Panker just because Panker spent like too much time on the high ground, and the pharmacy was just like sitting together the whole time. But this is what they wanted. They wanted to keep the pharmacy alive. Panker can kill himself, and then Poro just gets to land like a bunch of rockets, and he's not pressured right now just because the Zen Ana doesn't have enough sustain for each other. If they're getting like pelted all the time, they need to like be at a longer range, and so what ends up happening here is they get low. Poro ends up fucking up his rocket, but Poro ends up fucking his rocket. I think that's what I said. And then forwards ends up just having to like play safe this whole fight because he's super low and he can't take any like chip damage at all. So he basically has to like keep playing in this room, just like hiding because he's taking so much damage.
Interesting fight from Toronto Esports because it seems like they're just trying to sustain the fight. They're trying
And then they basically just have to like keep staggering onto the point.
I don't know.
Just because the first fight went so poorly.
They're whittling them away slowly. Toronto's getting picks time after time, and they're able to stall.
Doesn't matter if the Winston fell early, if you can just have your DPS stay alive and just carry the fight afterwards. That's basically it. But there wasn't even like big massive plays that were going on. Like it was just like the correct assignments of like who should go in and take damage and die and keeping the rest of the members alive. Alright, then we go to King's Row.
He did really well against ASU Esports, but not exactly for Toronto. They kind of have it figured out. Pretty easy plays in, and here you kind of hide behind this hotel, and you can filter out.
We're running a Rhine comp, and I keep telling people you don't need to run Rhine on King's Row. People think you need to. Dive is still perfectly viable. It's actually probably preferred, just because of what you can do against Rhine comps, but you see Toronto loves to have a 2-man unit always attack the high ground, so they have Dalton Crackalacken right now. Push up the high ground together. The 4-man unit just plays safe on the ground. They see a target out of position. They see paint way too far forward. He didn't drop. He needed to be playing in dark like way sooner. As soon as you see them like in the high ground, you need to be getting out. And then Dalton ends up just sitting in the back line harassing, forcing people to turn. The Tracer doesn't even need to kill anyone here. If you're forcing members of the enemy team to turn, just creates free pressure where Panker can just start hitting the front line uncontested. And the dive succeeds because they split them up, killed people out of position. Yeah, Frill's way too far forward here. I'll go back. Take a forward spawn. 47, 29, 40. Okay, he's playing behind pub right now, but I don't know if they're all regrouped. Oh, I think there's still, yeah, I still see a little blimp. There's still someone with back spawn, so they're playing way too far forward. Yeah, Frill's just way too far forward. then they have to back up. Because it's a 5v5 fight. You want to be taking these 6v5 when you can, then you just walk together, and it's pretty slow without a Lucio to actually like get fully regrouped and push out. Luckily there's the soldier that died so he could like run away, run out.
Far back behind the payload, we're nowhere close. If you're the defense, it has to be frustrating. You see how far away that payload is to your current position.
Oh no, Dalton getting trapped. Paintbrush gonna take him down, and that could be the opening.
Just walking out together.
Anime allowed needed, but
Try and get this tire on the Mercy.
that's an
It's pretty big.
a lot of healing that this defense is
Skills are getting traded though, like they know what to do in Toronto with their resources, so like they're losing people, they know exactly what to do. Crackalakan just goes in, kills Paintbrush because he knows he's going to be free. You kill these targets that can't protect themselves, and you punish them, because it's going to take them a really long time to get back, and so even if you lose your suit, this whole time the cart's been pushing, and this is exactly what they wanted. Poro goes a bit aggressive for that barrage. See, like the cart, like during that push, like it's still pushed a bit, even when they had man advantage and they used ults. Still dive versus Rhine. They're switching it up a little bit, but still have the same idea of sending people from different angles. So we'll see out here. They literally swing out together. The Tracer just looks for a pulse bomb. That's fine. Don't get anything. Press recall. The stack visor ends up getting too much value because the Diva and the Winston dive and basically leave their whole backline to die to the nano visor. I just noticed we used 4 ults that fight. Did we trade evenly? I think we traded... Okay, yeah, I think it was even. Pro didn't have ult, but we traded attack visor, trance, shatter for primal, diva bomb. I don't know if they trance. They might have had the swap so they didn't need it, but then also pulse bomb, so technically even now. Playing far back here, but Genji is pretty uncontested unless Soldier or Ana really hit shots on him. Frill is too far forward. Like the tanks back up because they're about to dive, and you want to like back up so you force the tanks to overcommit, but then Frill is still on high ground, so he gets punished. Genji gets just run free basically. A bit aggressive. He's gonna get out. Yeah, we already missed so many people that they really just don't commit enough people. Where the Genji's behind, the Tracer's like away, so he only ends up getting like 2 people in the grab. So. We switched to Hog here, which provides like a little bit more like one-shot pressure, but you have these instances where people can just get killed. Like this is just Panker and Dalton just straight up just killing the supports instantly before the fights like really even started, just with flanks and like 2-clipping Zen. So like you'd ideally want Diva to like actually be there to like protect them so you can actually like matrix the Tracer shots. If you aren't gonna have like a Lucio to like boot people away and actually save them. It's just a lot of staggering. Like you get those picks off with the supports, and then you still have just the people sitting on the cart pushing it, and then it just ends up being like supports are pushing on Toronto's side. They're pushing the cart for free. Supports from No Anime Allowed die, Then the cart's still just pushing. They're able to everyone has to back up or just dies right there. Then they just sit in the spawn door and spawn kill them as they're walking out. Let's go to the offense.
To those 4-digit numbers or anything higher.
And the trap for Poro gets almost immediately destroyed. We're going to see Frill running around the outside on that chase. So the offensive Junkrat is in full effect for the side of No Anime Allowed. We'll see how they do with that. Poro.
Yeah, we're so slow here that like we can't commit onto them because we're running in a Zen that we end up just playing like these really slow comps, and they're playing slow too, but they have Mercy Zen on defense, so they don't really need to move anywhere. So they end up just like having the Junkrat sit here in hotel and just ends up just spamming people through the choke, and you usually can just like either matrix it or speed past it and like actually commit onto the point here, but Forwards gets hit by a grenade. Damage boost grenade too, so it does like a lot more.
And Dalton catching catching Frill a little bit out of the way there. Almost taking him down, but Frill going to be able to get away.
Hey Jim, what's paintbrush?
I'll just overlay down. Go down. No.
He's having a good old time.
Something last.
He's positioned
End up getting set up again.
doesn't get no kill these
You want to be able to push these people off the high grounds though, so if you're going to be like swinging out like this, you probably want Frill pressuring the soldier too, so it isn't just Zen.
scored on him, but no follow-up. Looks like the rest of his team is having quite
Because Zen doesn't have the most pressure. Like he can get like a lucky right click like that, but it's not as much pressure. You want Frill to be doing at the same time as him. I think it's really low too. Like they lost forwards again, like right as he like walked out. I think Toronto got like super greedy here. Because Dalton wanted to fight the Tracer for some reason, ends up just dying because he had like got taken shots. He had taken shots from paint, used his heal, and then was like also just trying to take the fight afterwards with the Tracer, but didn't have his heal for the advantage in the fight. Then Crackalakin walked too far forward. His soldier fell basically at the same time, so the whole team starts to like fall apart. Spray, we get the big tire.
Screens are dashed. They will not be full holding this time. Almost 5 minutes to push through the streets here for No Anime Allowed.
Yeah, I was about to say maybe Hakume put a target on his back by right-clicking that corner. He was still in the area, but he will regroup with the team.
I don't like this, that we're just standing here on streets, we aren't walking forward. The other team hadn't set up yet, we could have walked more forward and punished them, potentially. We're just playing really slow. Frill ends up having to like use all his blinks to get away, just because we like ended up backing up for no reason. Okay. I don't know if there was the proper follow-up for that. I've talked about this before in one of my actual VOD reviews. Whenever they run Mercy on this point, a lot of times they'll just take fights, they'll wait for the fight to reset, kind of just like have their people walk forward and just give the Mercy room to just get these reses that take a bit longer now. Yeah, I really didn't like that grab. There was the pulse bomb to follow up on it, but it was like only pulse bomb, and so like if Ryan ends up blocking any of the damage, or if any of the tanks just end up soaking any of the damage, it's not going to get full value that you want from it. It's big shatter here too. Joe goes down, shatter is good. Hakume with a really late trance. I think the idea here was that they wanted to trance and then go in for the res afterwards. But Moth was like so close to Valk, but because trance was going off, he wasn't able to get any healing. End up like walking up with the trance so he can res, and Dalton kills Sugar. But we've seen here, the Valk's been popped, and reses are coming out. So like, you're trading members, but the trades are not in your favor just because they're getting rezzed and yours aren't because you have Ana Zen.
And Toronto Esports
So they end up like trading a couple kills, but they end up just like coming off like a little bit shorter end just because trying to remember who it was. I think it was Panker and probably Dalton or Crackalacken were res, so they're still able to just sit here and hold this front line.
I'm seeing these great grabs. Gets like 3, 4, 5 people. There's only one problem. There's a Reinhardt there, and he's got his shield up.
Trying to do that from really far away.
Look at this. Dalton and Plug.
Interesting choice.
They lost the Mercy though, which was like a lot of their sustain, so they were able to push up afterwards, but
But they can't take him down. Finally, Sugar Free gonna take him down with a no
the
skill.
Tires are basically carrying these team sites. Like they're not playing it really properly. They're just they're waiting for a Tire to get a kill before they walk in.
Esports is going to have to concede that point.
So like I've been saying, these grabs have been great. 3, 4, 5 people, but the Reinhardt is just there with the shield up. At some point, you have to say, all right, before I grab, why don't we bring Riot Shield or get someone behind them that can get some damage down?
Blasphemy, Buffer. Blasphemy.
Blasphemy? Did you say blasphemy? Well, I think that's really been hurting.
I love this swap, by the way. I think when a team has a win condition of getting Grav to win, so they have Zarya and like that's what their comp's based around, swapping to D.Va is like so top tier because if you can just eat the Grav, just get lucky and eat it, then you basically just killed off their win conditions, and it also makes it like super scary for the Zarya that you don't know if they're gonna have Matrix up whenever you're gonna go for the Grav, so
Most impressive thing about the plug, and I remember this
I
from
think it just makes it so much harder.
to stay on high charge. Like it's just insane. He's under charge for entire matches. Meanwhile, a great
Pretty big shadow goes off from Matt, but they ended up, so they used a lot of ults the fight before, so they were just coming up on them now, and they weren't able to get really full value off them because they like got shattered and were getting killed while their ults were coming up. So now they're having to like make these swaps. People end up getting picked off. That tire doesn't end up getting like that much value. Phil just needs to jump off right now.
Getting the kills.
to that res,
Yeah.
in my opinion. But Toronto Esports is going to be able to hold here.
Toronto finally restabilizing now. You were saying?
What do you think, Jim? Should they have tried to kind of ult out there, keep the momentum going? I mean, they only have one more team fight to win.
They don't have tire Grav win condition anymore. They can Grav into Pulse Bomb though. But again, if they don't get enough kills off here, then they can just Toronto can pop the Val, double res it, or they can eat it with the D.Va. So that they have counters to the combo. Just ends up being one, and I mean, you see it here. Like it gets rezzed, they shatter into him and don't end up getting any kills. But I mean, it's basically just like having more ults than the other team right now, even though they're getting like no value. If you just get any value at all, then you're able to win. But I mean, those ults weren't used like that well at all. And they just end up like having to like stagger onto the point, so basically just tires that won that round. Did a push already happen? No, this is the first push. Let's fucking overlay again. Sure, don't click on the timeline. There we go. So they ended up knowing that Frill was going to play Tracer this half probably again, so Dalton ends up just sitting high ground with the McCree as like a basic counter. They really like just having someone to flank and put a pressure on and maybe get a kill early. I was really good about that. Having someone like in hotel or just like land some poke to get a kill. Again, Toronto's so good about it, like pulling off and like splitting people in a fight, and so Moth can just get a free res every time. And then they take like the 6v6 fights or 6v5 fights sometimes. He had Valk super early, so. There was a lot of trading here, but because the Valk was popped so early and like the reses were already off, like the fight ended up being like even-ish. But then like more kills were traded just like in these even fights because the people getting rezzed were like out of position, so this longer fight really benefited us. This Plug, see, you see he was at like 100 energy and was just able to stay alive this whole time. Basically holding a choke, so they have win condition here though. Actually no, they don't have anything to combo with grab besides shatter. Both the Ryans try to like, I think they try to force too hard. Ideally, like in your head, you're like, I want to shatter and then grab afterwards so that the people are all on the ground, they're all gonna get sucked in, but a lot of times you just want to like force the grab out early so you can get a lot of people in it and then maybe shatter the people while they're like suspended in the air so you can like knock them all down and farm them like way easier. Let's go a little bit back and like watch these people die on Toronto's side so we can understand what happened here. So shatters were both traded, grabs were traded. There's no follow-up on like either side besides Sugar Free is behind and he kills the Mercy in the grab. But you see here, people on this side, it's just Jazari over here. So Ryan was having to hold the shield, so there's basically no threat on them. I don't know if this B was needed, maybe. I don't know if there's enough energy. Doesn't show the tire get killed. I think Matt ate it. Like he used a shield like in really good, he had really good placement with his shield. Yeah, Sugar's behind just killing them. He ends up falling, but I mean, the whole front line ends up staying alive just because there was no pressure on them from the grab afterwards and all these people were zoned in the back because they didn't want to be standing in the grab. So now it's just cleaning up kills. Poro stays alive way too long. Come on, team.
They have 5 people still up, if not all 6. There's 4 people on the card currently, 2 making their way back. On the side of Toronto Esports, they have their Winston en route. There's 3 of them, 4 of them. They might be able to take one more re-engagement right in this next bend, but it's going to be hard to call who's going to win it.
I'd like Frill to be over here right now or something in secret maybe. Because you don't want to allow the McCree to get high ground right now. He goes over there like during the fight basically. He ends up popping off here though. Gets a stick. Toronto made some swaps too, like they made the D.Va swap again to try to like cancel out their win condition of maybe eating the Grav or the Pulse Bombs. And then they made a bunch of other swaps as well, or just like low on ult charges themselves, so they really want sorry, they really want ults from No Enemy Allowed to go off right now and then basically give them a chance to build some ults up here in a fight. And so they have like one more time to contest. And that ends up basically happening, like the tire goes off, the shatter goes off. But because they're contested early enough, they're gonna be able to like have time to come back. Can grab Tracer Bomb combo here. But I mean, they're contesting. They can't all come out together, but there's people in the grab. There is an immediate follow-up here. The trance goes off. But they gave enough time for Poro to build this blade up. Forwards is way too close. Like, I think he was going for an anti, but it ends up killing him, where I think if he would have just played safer, he would have had a chance of clutching and staying alive. Just sitting in the back over here. Crackalacken lives with 1 HP.
The Kobe.
Oh man, that's funny.
Why did it have to come down to that? That was ridiculous.
Hold on, I need to call Paint out here.
Panker in by himself. Gets antied, is gonna be dying. He's gotta make something happen.
Alright, I'm gonna watch this fight one more time. I just want to see if Paint has beat by the time they're actually fighting on cart whenever they're coming back.
Only able to pick up one, and that's the team kill. Coming from
We'll see here. Oh, I just noticed Sugar was dead here. Like, he literally just respawned right as the rest of their team's respawning. So this starts off as like a 5v5, 5v6-ish. So that's probably why they don't get as much full value. That grab was way too early too. It's okay, I guess. Yeah, you see Plugs in the barrier, in the Winston barrier. They see no one's dying. Forward walks way too far up right here, like, and then he's just gonna get bladed. Where if he needs us to be way further back. Doesn't matter if you don't kill the people in the grab if you lose the fight afterwards. Okay, Bane didn't get his ult off yet. Just gonna call him out if he didn't beat. Good. More dive. They have some pharmacy. They do this beautifully so fucking often, dude. Toronto. They just swing out, wait for a pick, or just wait for someone to be out of position and then they punish them. Where they don't want to expose their backline at all. They're just gonna let their DPS just do the work. Kill people in front and just let them pressure before the tanks go in. The tanks, Panker jumps in, pressures them, pushes them back, and then they're just forced to walk away. You don't let this Ryan get any value being able to swing on anyone. They get a sleep on Dalton and they're able to pin him afterwards, but I mean they've been so far pressured off this cart, like they haven't been able to do anything. They walk up here to contest early, but it's pretty risky. Like, as far as able to just like land rockets all day. I would have liked this to be like contested like really early and then try to get like 3 whole fights in streets. Oh, I don't like that. I don't know. Panker just went in to like create room and they all focused them, and then Poro was just able to get a free barrage off that. And they ended up like letting the payload push like all the way to bookstore, so they're probably only gonna get one more fight here, max. And you play a Rhine comp, so you want to have your Zarya like at high energy, like building gravs, so you can actually win fights. But whenever you end up having like these fights that keep ending again and again, like she just gets her energy, dies, and has to restart, getting it again. Again, it's Panker creating room. He doesn't care if he dies here. They have a Mercy on their team, they can res him. He's just playing super, super aggressive, so Poro can just go in and get free rockets. Forwards is like the only pressure on him. Forwards, a little bit of Sugar Free and a little bit of Frail, but it's mostly just if you pressure forwards, he can just never land any shots on the Pharaoh. And again, it's just proxying. They were able to actually like save up some ults here, but Toronto's only really used, what is it now? 3 alts? They used the Primal early, and they used Barrage like super early, but because they've been winning fights so hard with Poro, he's just gonna be able to build it up again, and I think they used Self-Destruct last fight. So you want to speed out here and like actually contest the point. You can't let it keep pushing out without using anything. You need to get like a fight win here. You need to use some alts, get a fight win. Or at least stall the cart.
Some of the alts coming out here in Toronto Esports yet again coming out on top, but 5 alts still left to go for this defense. You just have to
But they waited so long to actually like use any alts that they end up just like having to panic use alts at the end and not getting any value off of them. So we end up like nanoing Tracer. It doesn't get any value. They just died of that D.Va bomb. That was interesting. Ends up being a massive grab, but because no one else is there, Sugar Free just ends up getting pushed away. Can't really do anything. So I ended up saving ults too long, getting pressured by the dive too much because they weren't playing correctly. Panker was just creating so much room so Poro could just do whatever he wanted. I don't want to skip forward. I'll wait.
I might be getting baited, crack and lacking on Moira. I'm guessing he's gonna be switching over to D.Va.
Alright.
Winston. Yep, crack and lacking's going D.Va. Same old Poro Signifera as well. So they've got no hit scan on the side.
I told Sugar this, but he also needs to realize how bad this play is because it's really, really bad. Every single time, everyone always stands on this roof, and then he gets surprise killed because they jumped the roof, and he said, how did they know I was there when everyone in the game has been standing on that roof for 6 months? Lose your members early. Need to get the fuck out of there. Because they don't have the speed boost, they end up getting picked apart. Supports just get chased. Bro's just putting pressure on these tanks that are slow and low. Bro's just really uncontested here. Like they swapped. They had Genji dive, which is okay on defense, but your 4-man unit has to be getting pressure, like really hard pressure, and no one really runs Pharaoh on this map, so like you end up just having this case where this Pharah is really uncontested unless you like get a Discord and are able to shoot her with Anna, but he just focuses her first, and then Anna just ends up getting zoned in these fights. So I would have liked to have seen them like swap to Genji, swap the Genji to Soldier to actually put pressure on the Pharaoh, or send Plug up to contest her all the time. Yeah, they're kind of just getting snowballed on because they don't have anything to test the Pharaoh. The Pharaoh is just hitting like free rockets all day long. Frill ends up switching to Soldier, which I wanted him to stick Tracer most of this series just so he can contest Dalton because he was actually winning some 1v1s. And we needed that pressure alleviated from the backline because otherwise paint and forwards just get 1 or 2 clipped by Dalton, and then Panker just jumps on them at the same time, so. Because you can see this Genji ends up not really doing much, like he's like farming up his blade in like these fights, but then he doesn't really get any value. Like they're just zoning them right here, like they can't even get out of high ground. They want the Soldier to be out but they don't want him to be with the tanks unless the tanks can apply pressure to the Pharah. You would have wanted the soldier to be up on this high ground with Zen maybe, but I mean the Tracer was sitting up there waiting for them, and the Pharah could have like been shooting rockets, and Panger could have been up there. They do it so good, where they have like the correct assignment, so they know the wind conditions. The soldier needs to be split or go with the team. If you have the Pharah flying over on the left side high ground, so we can watch it again. Just the correct assignments. It's a huge deal. So the win condition is for no anime allowed is to have the soldier come out and actually kill the Pharaoh, kill things. But they're stuffing them right here at the choke. Like the tanks are too far in right now. Like they need to be blasting the shield and then actually like putting pressure on these tanks and like zone them out. So they do zone them out, but the Mercy's sitting right here. But you can see they're stuffed literally at this choke. And they're getting dove in this room. And they're falling just because they don't have Lucio to speed them out or anything. Like the Ana and Zen need to be playing long range, and whenever they're in like this short little choke right here, they don't get any value.
Sure, that was the best time he used it, but he is able to find a couple kills there. Just Toronto Esports, their attack, it belongs in a museum. It's just so good.
You belong in a museum.
The museum of tier 2 Overwatch teams. We need to start that.
Just sitting, zoning them at the spawn. Not really a lot they can do. Again, it's always just taking these fights early, rogue stratting so hard. Keep the Lucio in the cart, keep this fight going. Let the Lucio just keep pushing the cart, take these fights all over the place. Doesn't even matter if you win or lose them. They pop a Valk, so they're just gonna win this fight just because the Mercy can sit so far back. So far back, be safe, keep all the members out that are taking fights all over the place. And they basically weren't able to contest that at all. Just killing forward spawners now. I love the spot Panker goes in right now. It's so smart. Panker doesn't need to see anything. Dalton is his eyes right now. Dalton's looking at their spawn. They're both listening, and then Dalton swings out here, sees, alright, who's our target? Alright, Panker, you know what to do. You and me, buddy. Frel takes half damage, half his health from the Tracer. Winston's on top of him, gets insta-killed.
And Frill goes down, forwards wastes his anti-nade, he's gonna go down as well. Panker on the Primal Rage now, and he is very mildly angry. He only finds one kill with that Primal Rage. Paintbrush gonna go down.
See, this far is just uncontested. They kill the soldier. The soldier's the only one who can really contest the Pharah. And there's just a ton of zoning.
Lucio's just been sitting on the top of it, you know. He probably knows the driver quite well.
And Frill gonna visor from behind and gets.
And they just have to stagger onto the cart. That's all they can really do.
With a 2K right there, Panker finding a couple as well, and that's it. Who's left on the payload here? Sugar Free? He's still Gonzo.
Well, 4 minutes and 13 seconds.
4 minutes left for Toronto Esports. Let's see if they can keep it going on defense.
The biggest thing is that
Lawful things, but
like he's the best esports.
Switch to offense here. We're running our own pharmacy. See here, they only keep D.Va on the roof though. I actually really like this. Where D.Va can just matrix and really just zones them on her own. Dalton's sitting behind on one of the roofs, just killing the Mercy. Like, that's their plan, really. Crackalagon's just sitting there waiting for the Mercy to get in a bad position. Then he flies into him, and Dalton's sitting on the roof too and flies and just kills him.
Getting caught out behind a little bit? Nope, not really. They can't really deal with him at all. He takes
Toronto just straight up, like, 2v6. Like, Panker didn't even really do much. Like, he was cleaving a little bit, but...
right back into the spawn. It's Jacob Wolf, Puffer, not Jason.
Oh, sorry.
You screw up. That was
Just trying to think.
Dalton kills Frill. Dalton, 2 million IQ
They really need to pull out here. Like, they're just taking free damage, just feeding Dalton ult. They can't get a push set up here. They're just sitting here, taking damage for no reason. They can't get anything set up, so. Like, we dive the high ground here. Matt solo dives the soldier, and soldier is not gonna die. He's just gonna get pocketed and walk away. That just ends up happening. You need to have the tracer sitting there too. Tracer or Devo, so you can just like actually kill him. Because they end up just having Matt jump the high ground, and then everyone else jumps the high ground, but then they don't end up getting the kill, then they're in a bad position, and they end up just getting shot down. Crackalakin jumps up on high ground, just eats the whole soldier heal for him, so give him a bunch of ult. It's another push of not getting really any value. Like, they haven't even swung out yet, like actually pressured anyone on the high ground. Like, it's just been staggered city. Where the people even on the high ground haven't felt pressured, and even the people on the low ground haven't really, just because they haven't been grouped up enough.
Yeah, they're just like, nah, we can't win.
Please stop.
Please stop. Yeah, that was basically
This
what it
is
was.
getting close to that, man. They're really not having any sort of luck. I don't know. There's a couple of things you could do. Maybe try going downstairs and all the way up and around.
They're swinging out here, they're pressuring the diva, but I mean, the value that they're getting right here is they're hitting tanks. They're hitting tanks with ults, so the amount of pressure they get is null. Matt ends up getting hard denied here, he gets pushed off, isn't able to pressure the soldier anymore. He can't just be solo diving, like, you have no kill pressure, and even if you're just batting away a visor, you're just eating the whole visor yourself.
Not looking too good.
Is going to res Madman. They found a kill.
Paint had popped Valk to try to like save the fight, but because they have no pressure on the high ground, the people on high ground just end up playing safe, and then Poro just gets to just mow people down, mow all the discorded targets down. Well, the tanks are just playing aggressive, and it doesn't matter if they if Panker gets low. Panker or Crackalakin, because they can just use their tankiness and their reset with either their health bars to just stay alive.
To us, they were somewhat what you might call a meme team. Just kind of everyone getting together and doing their thing.
Yeah, made it pretty far. Good
Yeah,
save.
made it pretty far for it, you know?
Yeah.
Well, they might have something.
Can't knock them. Oh, here they are. Going up the left staircase directly up to the payload. They're going to be sound bearing, diving up top, sugar free with that dragon blade. Not able to
The dive wasn't fast enough with the Genji. You wanted to like force trance out and beat out without using anything else, but they end up using blade and just ends up getting eaten. Well, gets a big bomb, but they've lost enough members where it doesn't really matter at this point. They haven't really even had like a full fight yet. Like, it's just been straight staggered fights all day long. And Toronto just keeps their DPS safe, and so they can just clean up these fights. Or just playing safe, so we can just clean up the fight afterwards. Keep yawning, sorry. They're down a man though, like Crackalakin lost, so they all just ran away. Waited to group up. They went for a fight a little bit too early, I think Toronto did. I think they could have grouped up, but no anime allowed, just ends up just grouping up. Staying as like a unit and just picking off the targets. If you just support the soldier like that, you can just clean up every fight. Pretty uncontested. Especially when they're having to stagger in, you can just shoot them down like while they're jumping on them.
This legendary defense looks a bit breakable. 2 minutes to push through to the second checkpoint. This is a significantly harder position to hold. And Kraken Lakin pushing out too far, he's going to get popped out of his mech very early.
Dalton is there to help him for just a bit, and the rest of his team is taking the high ground above the church, playing very smart here. No anime allowed. Probably
That was a
should
bit
have
too
been
far
selected
forward.
5 for this high ground, but now that they've lost it, it's gonna be like it's gonna be pretty hard to take this back again. They walked into one of Toronto Esports' little traps here.
I really just wanted to push them back, but Panker ended up taking too much damage, so he popped ult.
About Toronto Esports is the interesting places that they hold. Like it's clear that they
I think
practice
the
this
counter diving just keep Poro safe here like really well.
unorthodox places, and it's so
No Anime Allowed needs to have high ground control, so they need to send people on the high ground to get them around. But it ends up just being Matt jumping high ground, and then Plug comes up, but they dropped a bubble, and so Plug doesn't do any damage. It's just Matt hitting a soldier who's getting pocketed by both supports and as a heal down, so
he's gonna go down.
Wow.
Oh, a two-man diva bomb. In fact, Poro with the tag visor, and you know what? That's exactly
they just use Visor and Diva Bomb.
Poro had the green light to go off with that visor.
Very nicely done. And for this next fight, Toronto Esports has 2 defensive ultimates, and they have that Tracer Pulse Bomb. So that's going to be basically all that they need. If Dalton can stick that to 1 support,
Dalton almost one clips Fro. It's pretty close. One clip Sugar though. Sugar needed to be with his team. They needed to push out high ground together and force Poro off high ground. Dalton sometimes plays a bit too aggressive here, where he thinks he can go through these plays. He's like, my recall's almost up, I'm gonna go for these plays, but he ends up dropping too early without his recall being up. Visor ends up being okay. It's basically just because Dalton's down that he was allowed to do that, otherwise he would have gotten more punished. But I mean, they still end up falling.
Why are no anime allowed such overtime warriors? I mean, on these last fights, they always manage to pull it through.
I don't like how hard they No Anime Allowed spams ults in like these close fights, because they end up just using like 6 ults there, getting like little value, where Toronto just ends up re-engaging with like an ult or 2, and then just ends up winning the fight just because they had used 6 in the last fight. So it ends up being a 3-0, but that was like the first time we've really played Toronto, and the Kings Row game was close, but I mean besides that, there was a lot of mistakes on our end we made. A lot to work on. We've worked on some of it. Still looking to improve. Now I also wanted to watch some more of these new games